Hello and welcome to the Studio 2023 and this debate on adopting cloud operating model principles. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. To set the scene, what I'd maybe like to ask first, and to get an idea of where your organisations are in your cloud operating models, is what changes to the organisation's current operating model are required or have been achieved perhaps to fully embrace the potential of cloud across your organisations. I'll start this end of the virtual table, if I may.
Thank you. That's a great question. I believe what we have already achieved. So just to give a little bit of background, insurance is a very heavily regulated, business, right? So whenever you think about cloud, you always make regulators a little bit nervous. So you need to make sure that you're doing in a way. So it's not just about what you do, it's how you do it. So I think engaging with the regulators are very important when you're trying to do something like that. And also cybersecurity, one side of it, but definitely that needs to be there. From the operating model perspective, what we did is that we really got rid of infrastructure as an infrastructure team altogether. So there's no more infrastructure team, everything is a cloud team. So whether you talk about cloud operation, cloud engineering, cloud architects, so what we did is upskill, reskill for the people who could be, but we really added, what we created is a cloud centers of excellence for the whole group. And then we made sure that it is running in the benefit of the markets and ensure that you got those talents, what is needed in the market, because we have both flavors, AWS as well as Azure. So whatever you need in the market, you keep in the market, but what you run as a central centers of excellence, you run it as a centers of excellence. And cloud, to me, when you talk to board, it's not a technology strategy. Board must understand it's a business strategy. It's the way we will do business in the future. So is your product, is your customer servicing, is your customer experience is going to be attuned and adopting those cloud technologies? It's very important because it is not yet another technology initiative. It is actually a business initiative. So we got board buy-in. Board was all behind it. And no wonder that we moved from 17% mark to 95% within 2 years. So that's the kind of the adoption we have seen from 17% to 95%. And it's not possible unless you have the whole operating model working with you. So you got to have your development side of it, also restructured, your just people side of it, and a lot more to do with the cultural side of it. What's in it for a normal employee? What's in it for an HR person? Why should they be gung-ho about cloud? So I think it's the whole chain of your organization who needs to understand why and how this cloud operating model will work.
Yeah, so at Cancer Research UK, as a charity, we see that we make the best use of our funds that our supporters kindly donate to us to use most of it towards cancer research. So what we need to do from a technology perspective is actually leverage the latest development so that we can achieve that. So the cloud operating model, I need to put it in the context of the wider tech operating model, which we changed 2 years ago in 2021. We restructured so that we now have a product-centric organization. So all the delivery work happening in technology is done through multidisciplinary teams that have all the skills within them to manage the full life cycle of their products. And that's how we believe that we get the most of our people who can then innovate, and through empowerment within these teams, they can come up with ideas and try new things all the time. The cloud operating model is designed to work with this product, with these multidisciplinary teams. So we manage our cloud platforms as a product that we offer out to these teams to do their development. And then they have within them all the skills required to build their applications and innovate within their account that is provided to them. And actually, this allowed us to make progress much quicker, and also we've noticed a big improvement in the engagement of our employees. Like the engagement scores have increased massively for the teams that have adopted this model, because the barriers to them doing their work have been removed. So that's where we are. That we're not fully there. We still have a data center. We still have many legacy applications that haven't been rebuilt. So still a bit to go, but yeah, we're heading in the right direction.
So Mark, for Mars as a very large and global enterprise, probably shift to cloud has been happening for many years now. And slightly to offer a different perspective, we don't talk about cloud operating model. And we also don't talk about technology operating model, because actually the business does not care. We are a CPG, we work with retailers and direct consumers. What the business really worries about is how quickly can I bring a product to market? How do I ship to supply chain, the logistics, how do I bring the innovation, how do I bring the price differentiation, etc. So I don't think we have gone out and talked about COM as an entity. So in a sense, we have changed nothing. But in one sense, we have changed everything. Because it's like the swan kind of floating on the river. A lot of things have changed below the surface, clearly, because over the past sort of 5 years or so, we have shifted a lot of infrastructure onto cloud with the usual suspects, top 3 cloud vendors. So with that has come the thinking of platforms and product and platform owners and product owners. So a lot of things have changed in that sense. The maturity has changed, the automation tool sets have changed, people's job descriptions have changed. But in a sense, nothing has changed for business. And that's good, I think. Because I think it's a bit worrying if the business starts to find out about what is your cloud operating model. Actually, they don't.
I was going to use that swan analogy. Now I got to find something new now. No, I liked your answer. I liked all of your responses. We're a little bit similar because we're B2C. We're a US-based business. We have 26 brands. We provide home services to homeowners, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, water purification. Similar, we don't really talk about cloud to our business stakeholder community. We have adopted Microsoft Azure's well-architected framework. We're in the process of implementing that. It's an interesting dynamic for us because we were born in 2015, so we're a very young company. Out of the gate, we decided to do infrastructure in the cloud. We knew we had some work to do with our first 4 brands because they had on-premise operating systems, on-premise F&A systems. We moved those to the cloud. And so in terms of what are we doing differently, there's no previous to compare it to. However, I will say that because we're highly acquisitive, so at anyone, I think the last time I was here was in March at Hot Topics, the studio, and I made the comment that we were 100% cloud. And that was true, but we've just acquired a few acquisitions and they have on-premise systems that we're slowly migrating into our common homogeneous computing platform, which is cloud-based. So with respect to what are we doing differently, we have included within our M&A playbook this accelerated runway to get people onto the cloud for our primary core systems. There's always going to be, I think, outliers that we're going to have to deal with. Going through a portfolio rationalization process is key for us because as we acquire new companies, they bring, systems, platforms, we use the platforms term as well, into our ecosystem that are, provide redundant processes and capabilities. We also speak in terms of capability-driven operating model, not necessarily any particular technology operating model. And the reason we do that is we're also trying to implement some business architecture principles. So, we think that we're on a good path right now. Infrastructure in the cloud has been a great performance tool for us. We've got some great partners, including Archon out of Chicago, Verizon. I think that's also plays to our strength is we've formed this ecosystem of partnerships with some great organizations like Cisco. We love the Meraki APs. They do well for us. So, yeah.
We were born in the cloud, and a lot's changed since I joined back in 2012. Yeah, and it's interesting seeing the platforms. So we talk about platforms within the organization, the coming together of those, and how that's happened over time. So obviously Cisco has a very big infrastructure, which is an on-premise infrastructure with on-premise platforms, but more and more capability is being born out of the cloud, right? Because of the the flexibility, the scalability, and everything that happens there. So yeah, again, we're on a journey. The swan analogy is a good analogy. So it's how do we disrupt our business from within, bringing cloud capability to our customers, but do that in a sympathetic way. You know, there's obviously lots of layers there. You've got the security aspect of it. You've got the elasticity of it. Also, when you plug things into the cloud, quite often they can break because of the scalability of it, right? So you've got to be very sympathetic as to how we bring together those various cloud elements that we have to kind of one cohesive cloud. I mean, at the end of the day, again, it's like we're not looking for a particular cloud. It's to provide the best tool to the customer to get, you know, the job done that they want to get done. So we want best on premise and best in cloud.
So clearly, whether our organizations are adopting the language of a cloud operating model, we're all taking some of the principles, either whole scale across our organizations or perhaps just in divisions or areas. What have been the most compelling benefits that your organization has already seen? I'll go the opposite way around the table, but start with you if I may, Robert.
Well, the benefits has been speed to market for us, being able to bring acquisitions into our organization and then rapidly deploy these platforms. We start with infrastructure. We start with data, actually. And then data has a long tail. So even though we start first with data, it never really ends. It's infinite. But you know, we've built a data lake within Azure. We've built some components in Azure iPaaS to help create some differentiation with our core computing platform, which is number one in the home services industry, Service Titan. And so to build competitive advantage into our capabilities model, we are building some components in the Azure iPaaS platform. But in terms of the benefits, it's really about speed for us, being able to very quickly move our acquired organizations into a homogeneous computing platform environment has been key for us. And then in addition, because I mentioned the partners earlier, we have a lot of development partners also that we work with, and being able to push things out to them like Cloud PC has been very valuable for us. Such that we can maintain some level of control, even we don't really have that control. It's a partnership between us and Azure and our managed services cybersecurity SOC.
We are doing a lot of work with data because I manage the data products for Cancer Research UK technology as well. We are working with a SaaS data warehouse and now building all our data pipelines that take the data into this data warehouse with cloud native services. And I think so that brings me to a point I wanted to make actually, which is that the biggest differentiation that we've seen is where we've adopted these cloud native services. We had our donation journey, for example, on the web, where our supporters can donate money when there's a Stand Up to Cancer TV show, for example. That needed to be able to scale to cope with all that traffic. Is the equivalent of Black Friday for us as a charity. And therefore, the previous solution that we had in place for that had massive infrastructure to cope just with that thing that happened like twice a year. So we've migrated that to a fully serverless architecture now, which is cloud native. And we reduced the cost by 97% for that infrastructure, which is really impressive. And that's where we've seen the most benefits. And that's our engineering strategy now for custom built applications. When we rebuild something or build something new, we go cloud native and serverless as a preference because it takes away a lot of the maintenance headache and the cost. And it just works for us.
And what's been the biggest benefit for you and your business?
I think the biggest benefit has been insurance is you don't get up in the morning and talk about insurance. So how do you create your experience space? Why people should? So if you look at our brand philosophy, it is called changing the way people feel about insurance. I love that because, you know, insurance is not something you get up and see. So it's only through those micro moments, through those experiences, you will really be engaging with your customers and bringing them onboarded with you. And I already talked about the regulator side of it. So if you want to be a differentiated experience, we are also just 10 years young. And we are an accumulation of various merger and acquisitions. So on one hand, you're doing your legacy, light bit, and all this stuff. But on the other hand, what is really customers like all of you who hopefully become our customers as well, is to talk about why should we talk about FWD? Because you're either buying savings product or you're buying protection product, right? So in the product side, you can't do a lot of innovation on the insurance side. The only innovation you can bring is through the experience, the product-centric mindset and platform. But what is the asset we are trying to create as a insurance is that experience. And that experience get accentuated and gets really benefited through the cloud. So, and that is where we are going through the IPO process as well. And we are going to be listed in Hong Kong hopefully soon. Our investors' biggest question is, why you? What is that you're differentiated? If you look at Lemonade, they are not they are not made any profit yet. And so why should we look at you? And that's where it makes difference. So it's not a technology story, but it is also a technology story. Why should we make it simple for you as a customer to experience that with the insurance? Cloud right at the center enables that for us.
Yeah. Paul, tell us about some of the benefits that your organization is seeing.
It is, I mean, the experience in that data lake, I mean, that you get from cloud is huge. I mean, so for us, it's things like AI ops, all right? So we look at, when we talk about experiences, it's the experience of the client talking to the application, right? That's what we look at. So we want to try and give you the best possible experience from the client all the way through to the application. And we can only do that with cloud, with things like the Thousand Eyes product. And some of like the SD-WAN technologies that we've got. Now, we have, I mean, just on the Meraki platform alone, we have around 200 million clients connecting each day on that platform. So looking at the telemetry data from those and how they're connecting, which applications they're connecting, the various services they're moving through, we can use that data to improve everyone's networks. Yeah, and that to me, I think is the biggest opportunity that we have to help our customers, is that data lake with the AI ops, with that improving that experience.
Last but not least, Amit, tell me about the benefits.
So the benefits probably I will summarize in three categories: business, tech, and ops. So from business perspective, I think just to kind of echo the statements we heard. So we are a CPG. And we go through these cycles when actually the demand could be a lot higher and could be at a low point, and having that scale and the ability to kind of scale the platforms and to kind of cater to the requirements coming in from the retailers or online, I think it's premium. That's number one. From a technology perspective, I think as a global business, as a distributed business, security is going to be very important. The cyber threats, the access, I think those things. They're done superbly in cloud. I mean, talk about serverless. I can't even imagine how I would kind of do that now, that kind of threat level, right? And from operations perspective, I think whether it's a DevOps, whether it's what you're doing from continuous improvement, bringing change, I think we should also talk about the performance management and monitoring of what's going on. So for me, I think probably just calling the technology benefits is a bit unfair. I think the business is the biggest benefactor probably. Tech, obviously, but probably operations is where it really shines through.
Yeah. You've all touched on how using cloud technology has already accelerated various areas of your business, from the customer experience, a sort of a Black Friday scenario for charities, etc. What future accelerations do you expect, whether they be business outcomes or maybe just something that is a bit more sort of down in the weeds and technological, better security, better application performance? Paul, what do you see on the horizon? And then it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think is going to change your businesses.
I think it is that observability. So that a couple of things, right? So the observability, being able to see something happen, right, and then being able to take an informed decision on that event happening, right? And it's got to be a staged approach, because it will be okay, human intervention initially, and then it's okay, well, we believe that this is what you should do, okay, through to a fully automated system, right? So I think that's how, from a technology point of view, that's what we'll see, and it will drive that operational efficiency as well, because you don't want to be touching stuff that you shouldn't have to touch, yeah. So I think moving forward, that whole automation of events will happen, and security is key to all, to all of this. It's you have to absolutely secure those transactions. It's like full trust in the system. But for me, it is that observability and that interesting journey that kind of AI and ML is kind of going on at the moment.
Anyway, what's
So the future direction for us, coming from the leadership, the board, and the customers and consumers, is they want our business to be digital first. So we offer a full range of services. So we go from creating our own products, R&D, to manufacturing, to supply chain, to ship, third party, whether 4PL, 3PL, to the retailers, customers. And so it's a full range of services. And the desire and the vision is to be the digital first. When you say we are a digital first business, it's digital first across all those things. And again, I can't even imagine how we would actually cater to those supply chain challenges using the yesteryear's technology. So I think when you talk about that, I mean, we've just seen a glimpse of what AI could bring, especially from a demand side. I mean, that's the future is absolute digital first in that sense. I mean, the tooling which is coming through now in terms of how we can create a product very quickly, change the product very quickly, launch it, do the life cycle changes, I think is phenomenal. And that's what I think most of our efforts will be focused on.
Yeah.
I love the digital first piece of this because we've been playing that tune for a number of years since we launched our digital strategy in 2019. I have a very operational relationship with our CMO. So when we talk about cloud, back to, not to reiterate what was discussed previously, we always, talk about the business value and business benefits. I think the more maturity we gain in our cloud operating model that supports our capability operating model, the more seamless borderless handshakes we'll have with new platforms that we want to bring on to satisfy our appetite for innovation. That's really what's going to be key for us. I mentioned the Azure Data Lake that we're building, the iPaaS components around that. Event orchestration is on the horizon. We're playing with business rules now, but I think that seamless borderless handshake that we're going to be able to accomplish with new platforms that we want to bring on to advance our innovation is really going to be key for us. As I mentioned earlier in another discussion, our whole life cycle is stabilize, optimize, transform, disrupt. And we want to get to that disrupt phase in some of our business operations. And I think our cloud operating model is going to allow us to do that.
I think the future is customers, the customer will be truly in the custodian of the transparency they would expect from the organization. They would like to know everything. So it's gone are those days where you can just come and sell a piece of product, piece of anything, and then customers should be not knowing about this. I think it's the transparency which they will really expect, and your ability to give them that transparency through entire your ecosystem is going to be the future. And that's why if you look at our customer app, which is called Omni by FWD, it's nothing like an insurance app, right? It's about, so we have Universal Studios, we have the tie-ups with all these partners. So you can go there for relaxing. You can go there for doing your, there is an app which you must use called Mirror, which tells you based on, your, not just the wrinkles or this, but based on your expression, it's generative AI, tells you your age versus the, your biological age. So these are the things. And why would I keep saying that? Our customers are Gen Zs and of the futures, including the baby boomers and the previous. Our whole, the customers are 80 to 8 in the future. That's what we talk about. When you have that spectrum of customers, you need to create these, again, I'll keep coming to the experience through this any touch point, not just through the app, but every time they call up the call center, every time they talk to our partners, whether they're bank partners, every time they talk to our agents, every time they do self, that consistency of that experience is very important. And that's going to be the future. And it is very easy to say, but you got to do a lot more as a technology leader to enable that. Because keeping yourself complex is not going to achieve the speed to market. It's not going to achieve anything and everything which we are talking about. And we cannot forget, I keep saying that, we are a regulated business. So cybersecurity, this will come naturally. But customers will demand operational resilience. They will ask, how are you storing my data? Where is it stored? Why is it stored in US, not in Singapore? So all those things you need to be able to provide and cloud just enables that. And last but not least, in my view, what's going to be pinning all these things together is that ultimately we're here to do business, right? So, with ESG is another important component which will be driving many things, but it's not a tick box exercise, right? Oh, I moved my workload to Azure and AWS, so my job is done I don't have any more data centers. So it is AWS and Microsoft problem to look at their carbon footprint. No. That's not how the KPIs will be measured in the future. The KPIs of the future will be measured based on what are you doing really to reduce your whole carbon footprint. So for me, like I said, when your customer base is from 80 to 8, it gives you amazing level field to not just play with, but to create that, imagine the products, the experiences, the data which we need to create for that kind of a spectrum of customers is an exciting world which is coming.
Andrei, what differences?
Agree in particular with the sustainability aspect, because when I was talking about reducing the cost of the infrastructure by 97%, that also improves the carbon footprint similarly. So that's we've got a sustainability agenda that we're pushing at the moment. And another aspect for the future for us is what I was previously talking about was mostly in the fundraising space of Cancer Research UK, but on the research, so actually the core purpose of the charity, we could do a lot more with the cloud, and there's a great opportunity now with some of our research institutes have been combined into a bigger organization. We're looking to revamp the technology that they use, and cloud will no doubt feature in that future architecture.
Great. Interestingly, you're all on these various journeys, and I was interviewing the CTPO of a major university recently, and you've all talked about the demands on your technology from your customers, from your peers across the organization. And in this story, we were talking about how we're going to need digital infrastructure to cope with the cloud operating model and the digital demands on our organizations. Do you recognize that challenge? Are you seeing that you need an infrastructure that can adapt and service this new operating model, this new customer demand? Paul, I'll start again with you, if I may.
Yeah, I think from automate everywhere. I think is the way forward on that. It's the less touch points you've got, the better. I think it's interesting looking at companies. We've got a huge majority of the world is still kind of on premise, like their workloads are still on premise, and they're making that digital journey into the cloud. So we've just kind of started on a journey with certainly on the product side of things, where you can manage, like the customers can manage it their own way, all right? So they can manage the equipment using something called DNA Center on premise, which is kind of best in breed management. From premise, right? Or if they want to go into the cloud, they can manage it from the cloud. But you've got to it's how do you do that in a simple way, all right? So it's how do you manufacture a product that will talk to the cloud and to on premise, and we're just beginning to do that, all right? And then take some of those products like the security products as well, that traditionally have been on-premise, and offer cloud variants of those, so that you have got gateways into Azure and you've got gateways into AWS, and then and make sure that really is secure and that scales with people's businesses. So we're on the journey. We're committed to it, and it's bringing all that together in one piece.
I mean, do you recognize that digital infrastructure as a challenge?
Oh, absolutely. I think as you started speaking, for some reason, what the phrase came to my mind is pet parent. Because if you talk to any of our board members, they would say that our purpose in the particular division where I work in, we make pet food, is to put the pet parent and the pets ultimately at the heart of everything we do. And how do we make their life easy? So unfortunately, cats and dogs yet can't log in themselves. So they have to rely on pet parents to do it. Not yet. Though my puppy does choose his own food by telling us he doesn't want something. But the point I'm making is, right from that, how do you identify and access manage that pet parent when they're coming through. That's the touch point. Are you giving the access to all the range of products and SKUs to them in real time? Is the inventory available? If it's not available, when can you trace it back? Going down to the whole manufacturing process, supply chain, linking it and bring it forward. If we do not scale up the game in digital, I don't know how else we are going to do this. So I think it's interesting. I see this more as an opportunity than a challenge. It's true opportunity for us to really step up in every sphere of our business. And cloud, I think it's not even a debate. I mean, that we don't even talk about that anymore.
I see. Andrei, is that cloud, a digital infrastructure, a challenge you would recognize?
So we still have a number of challenges. So there are some of the teams have achieved massive cost reductions. Others, their infrastructure is still very expensive. So what we're doing is we're working with, we're trying to embed infrastructure engineers within each product team so that they can bring that good practice in terms of observability, in terms of cost management, reliability, so that it's embedded in each product team. That's still a challenge for us. We're not there across the board. And as I said, in the research space, the way you put together a solution for research teams is very different from something you would put together for an external facing digital web application, because each research team needs to constantly iterate and change the way they process their data or the way they do their operations. So it needs to be much more flexible. So that's a challenge ahead. How do we engineer a solution that is flexible enough for that sort of use case?
Robert, what's
Yeah, when it comes to infrastructure, I mean, we've achieved infrastructure in the cloud, and so we don't have a lot of gear. All of our locations are SD-WAN enabled. We have Cradlepoint as a fail-safe, and we're looking at exploring other models to do away with that, to give our locations and all of our mobile field services the right technology to avoid any interruption in the work that they do. I mean, at the heart of what we do is the homeowner, much like the puppy. Yeah. The homeowner has to have a high degree of satisfaction with the services we provide, because we are fully vetted and fully leaning in on memberships driving our growth. The more memberships we have of homeowners that trust us with their HVAC, with their plumbing, with their electrical needs, the greater revenue and the greater opportunity we have to increase their satisfaction with what they're receiving from us. We have one brand, it's our second largest brand in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I love their main focus, and that is we will never, ever, ever ask one of our members, which they call, I think, Priority Advantage, to reschedule an appointment. And so that's, a goal that they achieve again and again and again. With respect to infrastructure in the cloud, our ability to keep connectivity and to allow them to do business in the field without any interruption is a key, performance indicator for us on our ability to service that customer community.
It's absolutely important, because in insurance business, you're an ecosystem of partners, right? Your bank partners, you have your individual affiliates, brokers. So you need to really create a Lego block kind of a solutioning. So everybody should be able to plug and pay. So it's not just only because HSBC or Standard Chartered is my bank partner, so I can have the APIs and they have API ecosystem. For an individual broker, that may not be a possibility. So how do you make sure that your infrastructure, and purely we talked about it, but everything as a service truly. Everything as a service truly. Not just infrastructure as a service, not just software as a service. You should have that mindset of everything as a service. So because we are in a service industry, we need to make sure that how is customer perceiving us, how is distribution partner perceiving us, how smallest to biggest agents are perceiving us, but also we forget often the people experience side of it. It's a happy employee, happy customers. If you're not going to create those experiences for your people, internal people, You forget about you creating that kind of a experience for your distribution partners and customers as well. So again, the whole digital infrastructure needs to take care of everything from top down to bottom up. And then you start creating the ecosystem of your, I call it laterals, so people are able to plug and play. And of course, the Lego block does not mean that it's not secure. You take care of the security elements, because I keep saying that it's security by design. That's the slogan. So anything we touch, we no more talk about DevOps. We talk about DevSecOps. So you start, the first piece of code is touched by a developer, it is already designed for security. So how do you shift left as an organizational strategy is going to be important.
And just to wrap up, gentlemen, sort of what in your organization, or perhaps your vertical market, I don't want to get anyone into trouble, needs to change to fully embrace the potential of cloud? You're clearly doing a lot of good stuff with cloud, but we all know that our businesses or our verticals could do a bit more. I'll work my way around the table.
I think we're working really very closely with regulators. And what amazes me is to look at our regulators coming forefront of this and working with us to say, we want to understand this space more. They want to understand how AI, generative AI, and because they're also worried, how is it going to create that data privacy and those issues? So that's one area which I feel definitely. And another thing is, like, within the insurance consortium itself, we all have to start forgetting about becoming too protectionist about our businesses, but among the tech leaders to share ideas about what works, what doesn't work, so that it becomes like a collective wisdom of the industry rather than just your individual wisdom. So that, I think, is the two things we should definitely see happening.
Yes, and as I was saying, for us, a couple of the priorities are adding the sec in DevSecOps, because DevOps is working really well for the teams that have adopted the cloud, but the security aspects are not fully there yet. Yes, quite tricky to service the research teams in using the cloud in a well-engineered environment, but still give them enough flexibility to constantly change the research work and pipelines in that.
Thank you.
I think I talked about the sort of top-down strategically driven demands. I think to just wrap up that point, probably this is also needs to be bottom-up, saying actually sharing almost the tech, IT, data, digital, whatever community you want to talk about. We almost need to communicate better with business and take them on a journey, say, actually now this is what is possible. What do you want to do next? It's almost that sort of conversation, if that makes sense. I think both the parties are there. I think the digital first vision is very empowering, but I think it's almost previously, maybe a decade back, we kind of stopped the vision from going forward, always on, distributed, global. It's all possible now. Where do we want to go next? I think it's just that probably that reach out, and that's probably not just business, it's kind of coming also from our teams, I believe.
I think for us, what needs to change, and it's not so much change, but what we need to get better at, I would say, is involving more of our business community in this idea of innovation and what cloud can bring to the table to inspire and enable that innovation. Oftentimes our business stakeholders will, find something that they think they need because it does this or it does that. And we always try to bring them back to what capability are you trying to introduce or improve. And I think to the degree that we can involve our business community more in the conversation about the art of the possible of cloud computing, I think the more we're gonna, the quicker we're gonna be able to get to value-added solution deployments and ultimately serve both the customer community and our employee community. Well taken point. If the employee isn't excited about what they're using and what they're doing to serve that customer community, you're missing a piece of the equation. So I really appreciated that commentary.
Last but not least, Paul.
Yeah, for me, there's a couple of things. So it's first off, where are your clouds? All right, and the whole privacy piece, GDPR is huge. So it's getting kind of the data centers, the secure data centers in the right place, especially when we deal with companies public sector companies, for instance. Everyone wants their own cloud. Everyone wants data residency in their own place. And it's how much of that can we achieve? And then also with our customers, it's very, very similar to one of the points you made around what are you trying to achieve? Because there's a like legacy thinking in people's heads that's kind of been in there for years and years, which is I need to do it this way. Okay, how does your thing do that? And it's like, well, actually, what you're trying to achieve, and we'll help you get there a lot quicker. And quite often, the cloud solution is a very different solution, just because there's a lot more power in the cloud, there's a lot more data in the cloud, right? You can automate things a lot better in the cloud. So yeah, so I think those two things. One is solving data residency, because everybody wants their data in their own country. And just that customer mindset of, okay, what are you trying to achieve? And we can help you get there.
Gentlemen, thank you for a really interesting debate and a great insight into a real variety of vertical markets. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for joining the Studio 2023.